Hey everyone. I know running a business can be a lot, and then on top of that, you got to figure out social media too.
Yeah,
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. Social media strategy for 2025.
right.
We've got some insights from 3 different marketing pros who have basically seen it all, and we're going to try to boil it down to strategies that you can actually use,
Absolutely.
even if you're just starting out.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that a lot of this stuff really isn't tied to one specific platform.
Okay.
So even if like TikTok disappears tomorrow or, something new pops up,
Right.
the core ideas still apply.
I love that because it just seems like things change so fast online.
They do, yeah.
So let's kick things off with a framework called the Marketing Master Plan.
Okay.
This comes from a guy who's worked with everyone from like small startups to big names like Google and Amazon.
Uh-huh. This plan's really interesting because it boils down to just 4 key elements.
Okay.
Your model, your market, your message, and your media.
Okay. I think I'm following so far.
Yeah.
But let's break that down a little bit more.
Mm.
How do those 4 elements actually come to life in the real world?
All right, so think of it this way. The model is basically your core product or service.
Okay.
Like the one thing you do really well.
Right.
You don't want to confuse people with too many options right out of the gate.
Got it.
So for you, that might be your coaching packages or your handmade jewelry line or whatever it is you're focusing on.
Yeah.
Now your market is who you're actually selling to.
Okay.
Who is that ideal customer?
Right.
What are their needs? What are they looking for?
So instead of trying to be everything to everyone,
Right.
I need to figure out who I'm actually trying to reach.
Absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense.
And once you know who you're talking to, then you can really hone in on your message.
Yep.
How are you going to talk about what you do in a way that actually clicks with them?
Yeah.
What problems are you solving for them? What are their aspirations?
Yeah.
How do you fit into their world?
I like that. And then media, that's where it all comes together, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Choosing the right platform to actually get that message in front of my ideal customer.
Exactly. It's about being strategic and picking the platforms where your people actually hang out.
Right.
And this is a point that this expert really hammers home.
Okay.
And how blindly chasing every trend without really thinking about your audience is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, you can waste a lot of time that way.
Absolutely.
You know what? Before we go too far, if you're finding this helpful, do us a favor and like this video.
Yeah.
Share it with other business owners who might need this info. Okay, now back to it. This expert actually suggests that long-form content is a good way to really go deep and build your authority.
Yeah, he does. And it's kind of interesting because even with all this buzz about short videos these days, he really believes that long-form content is what helps establish you as a true expert in your field.
That is interesting because I feel the pressure sometimes to just crank out tons of short videos, but maybe I should be focusing on creating some more in-depth content too.
Yeah, and I think it's really about finding the right balance. This guy, he even cautions against getting too bogged down by trying to make everything perfect.
Okay.
He says consistency is key. Like if you're constantly trying to polish every single piece of content to perfection, you're never going to actually put anything out there.
That's so true. It's better to have a steady stream of good content than to aim for perfect and just never post anything.
Absolutely.
But what about finding the right niche? Should I be hyper-focused, or can I explore different areas that I'm passionate about?
That's a great question, and it's actually one that another marketing pro we talked to tackles head on.
Okay.
This is a woman who believes you can actually strike a balance between focusing on a specific niche, but also pursuing your passions.
Okay, so I don't have to choose between being the keto recipe queen or branching out into travel blogging if I also love to travel.
Not at all. She calls this technique layering. You start with that core niche. That's your base.
Right.
And then you add layers of other interests and content on top of that.
Like a cake.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. But can you give me a real-world example of what layering might look like?
Absolutely. Imagine someone who's a fitness coach, right? They might primarily create content about workout routines and nutrition tips. That's their base layer.
Okay.
But let's say they're also really passionate about sustainable living.
Okay.
They can incorporate that into their content by talking about things like eco-friendly workout gear, plant-based protein sources, or even mindfulness practices in nature.
So they're still serving their core audience.
Yeah.
But adding in those elements that reflect their broader interests.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot where your passions and your audience's interests intersect.
That's brilliant. I love that idea.
And it helps you avoid burnout, too, because you're not feeling like you're boxed in by this one narrow niche.
Totally. Now, I think we all feel the pressure to keep up with the latest trends, especially with all these different video formats.
Yeah.
Short form, long form. It's hard to know where to even focus your energy.
Yeah.
What's this expert's take on all that?
Yeah, she's a big believer in choosing the format that actually aligns with your strengths, your lifestyle, and your resources.
Okay.
You shouldn't force yourself to do something that doesn't feel natural or that you just don't have the capacity for.
So if I'm great at like crafting these really short, engaging videos,
Mm.
I shouldn't be forcing myself to create hour-long podcasts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Play to your strengths.
Yeah.
She highlights some key considerations, though, for each format, like short-form content that needs to be concise. It needs to be attention-grabbing right from the start.
Right.
Strong hooks, efficient production.
Okay.
Long form, that requires a different approach.
Yeah.
You need to maintain engagement over a longer period of time.
Right.
You got to think about strategic outlining.
Okay.
How are you going to keep people interested and, a captivating editing style?
So it's not just about the length.
Yeah.
It's really about how you tell that story
Exactly.
and keep your audience hooked. And speaking of stories, let's move on to that because everyone loves a good story.
Right.
But how does storytelling actually fit into marketing?
Yeah.
Like, shouldn't we just be focusing on like facts and results and, all that stuff?
Right. Well, while those things are definitely important, they don't always create those like lasting impressions.
Okay.
Or build genuine connections. Think about some of the most memorable brand slogans or ad campaigns.
Yeah.
They often involve a story, something that resonates with people on an emotional level.
Yeah, like Nike's just do it.
Yeah.
It's just a simple phrase, but it taps into like a deeper story about overcoming challenges and achieving your goals.
Exactly. And this expert we talked to believes that stories can actually cut through all that clutter
Okay.
and help you stand out in a really crowded market.
Yeah.
He even suggests creating like a story inventory.
A story inventory.
Yeah, basically brainstorm all the significant stories from your life,
Okay.
both personal and professional.
Right.
Think about your childhood, your career journey, how you started your business, overcoming obstacles,
Yeah.
even just funny anecdotes that connect back to your brand in some way.
So I'm building like a library of stories that I can then weave into my content.
That's it.
Okay.
These stories can be used to illustrate lessons, to make complex concepts more relatable, and to really showcase the human side of your brand.
Got it.
They help people connect with you on a deeper level.
That's making me think about my own story and how I can actually use it to like differentiate my business.
Yeah.
It's not just about like what I'm selling,
Right.
but who I am and what I stand for.
Exactly. And that authenticity is what resonates with people. It's what builds trust.
Absolutely. All right. Before we get too deep into our own personal stories,
Right.
let's kind of take a step back and talk about the bigger picture.
Yeah, let's shift our focus to strategies that go beyond just the here and now
Okay.
and really focus on building something sustainable for your business.
I'm all ears. Let's dive in.
Okay. When it comes to building something that lasts, email lists and digital products are really key
Okay.
because social media platforms, they can change their algorithms whenever they want.
Yeah.
But your email list, that's something you own. That's something you control.
So instead of just relying on social media to get my message out there, I should be focusing on building my own audience
Exactly.
that I can reach directly.
It gives you that direct line of communication in your audience through email, and that lets you really nurture those relationships over time,
Yeah.
regardless of what happens with, Facebook or Instagram or any particular platform.
That's a really good point. Like it's like a safety net in case things change.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. What about digital products then?
Yeah.
How do those fit into this long-term strategy?
Digital products are fantastic. They can be a really great way to generate that consistent revenue
Okay.
and provide real value to your audience. Think ebooks, online courses, templates, even like exclusive content for your subscribers.
Yeah. I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing that, and it seems to be working really well for them.
It is.
It's kind of like a win-win. They get to share their expertise
Right.
and generate income,
Yeah,
and then their audience gets these valuable resources.
exactly. And it allows you to go beyond just, creating that free content all the time and really build something more substantial for your business.
Right. Okay, let's talk about our final expert then.
All right.
This is a guy who is known for spotting trends before they even happen.
Right.
And he's got some really interesting insights on grabbing attention, experimenting with different formats, and even the blockchain.
Yeah, this guy's all about attention and how important it is to capture that attention quickly,
Okay.
especially in a world where everyone's attention span is so short.
Uh-huh.
He calls attention the currency of the digital age.
It's true. We're bombarded with so much information these days.
We are, yeah.
And if you don't grab someone's attention right away, you've basically lost them.
You've lost them? He stresses you need to make those first few seconds count, especially with video content.
Okay.
He's a big believer in creating eye-catching thumbnails
Right.
that accurately represent your video.
That makes sense.
Oh!
Thumbnails are kind of like the storefront for your video.
They are.
They need to be enticing.
Yeah,
They need to give people a reason to click.
absolutely. He also encourages people to experiment with different content styles.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to try things like green screen, visually appealing posts with text over images, carousel posts to tell a story.
Right.
Just see what works for your audience.
It's all about testing and finding what resonates right.
Exactly, yeah.
What about the blockchain, though? That seems like a pretty advanced concept.
Yeah,
How does he see that fitting into social media?
he's a big believer in the potential of the blockchain to really change the way we verify content online.
Okay.
He thinks it can be used to prove the origin of content
Yeah.
and combat deepfakes, which is becoming more and more important as technology advances.
So it's about building trust and transparency
Exactly.
in a digital world where it's getting harder and harder to tell what's real and what's fake.
Absolutely. And that's something that all businesses, big or small, really need to be thinking about.
Yeah, okay. I'm feeling inspired, but also a little overwhelmed with
Okay.
all these different strategies.
Sure.
Where does someone even begin if they're just starting out?
I know, right? Well, there's a great practical guide from HubSpot
Okay.
that offers some concrete steps that even small businesses can implement right away.
Okay, I like that. Concrete step.
Yeah. They really emphasize the importance of defining your goals first.
Okay.
You know, what are you hoping to achieve with social media?
Right.
Are you looking for immediate results like sales and leads?
Yeah.
Or are you more focused on building brand awareness and engagement over the long term?
It's like choosing a destination before you start a road trip. You
Exactly.
need to know where you're headed
Right.
before you can map out the route.
Absolutely. Once you know your goals, then you can choose the platforms that are most likely to help you get there.
Okay.
And HubSpot, they offer these free persona templates that can help you analyze your audience and determine where they're spending their time online.
That makes sense. No point in putting all your effort into a platform where your ideal customers aren't even hanging out.
Exactly. Yeah.
What's next?
Next is to conduct a competitive analysis.
Okay.
Take a look at what other successful businesses in your industry are doing on social media.
Right.
What kind of content are they creating? How are they engaging with their audience?
Okay.
What seems to be working for them?
It's like scouting the competition before a big game.
Yeah,
You can pick up some valuable strategies by observing what others are doing well.
absolutely. Next up, create a content plan.
Okay.
Don't just post randomly. Use HubSpot's free editorial calendar template to map out your content in advance.
Right.
This will help you stay organized. It'll help you stay consistent.
Planning ahead definitely helps to avoid that feeling of overwhelm that can sometimes come with social media.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're actually creating that content, make sure you're optimizing it for each platform.
Okay.
Use clear calls to action.
Right.
Make sure your images are the right size.
Yeah.
And prioritize original content over stock images whenever possible.
So it's about paying attention to the details
Yeah,
and making sure your content is polished and professional.
it is. And finally, don't forget to track your performance.
Right.
Use the analytics provided by each platform or tools like HubSpot's free marketing hub to see what's working and what's not.
What gets measured gets managed right.
Exactly. Data is your friend.
Data is our friend.
Use that data to refine your strategy and make adjustments as needed.
I'm starting to feel a lot more confident about tackling my social media strategy for 2025. What about you? What's resonating with you from all these expert insights?
For me, it's that emphasis on building those genuine connections with your audience.
Yeah.
In a digital world that's becoming more and more noisy and impersonal, human connection is more valuable than ever.
You know what? I think you're right. And before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay.
What if your biggest asset on social media isn't actually the platforms themselves, but the relationships you build with the people who follow you?
That's a great point.
Because at the end of the day, people do business with people they know, like, and trust.
They do. It's about building those relationships and nurturing them over time.
Exactly. So as you're planning your social media strategy for 2025,
Yeah,
remember to focus on building those connections.
absolutely.
Be authentic, be helpful, and be engaging.
And don't get discouraged if you don't see those results right away. Building a strong social media presence, it takes time. It takes consistency.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. Just keep experimenting, keep learning, and most importantly, keep connecting with your audience.
So true. And hey, if you've been enjoying this deep dive into social media strategies for 2025, do us a favor and share your biggest takeaway in the comments.
Yeah.
We love hearing what you're finding most valuable.
And don't forget to check out those free resources from HubSpot that we mentioned.
Yes.
They have a ton of templates and guides that can really help you put these strategies into action.
They're a great resource for any business owner, no matter what stage you're at.
Absolutely.
All right, that's a wrap on our social media deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought. What if the most important thing about social media isn't actually the platforms themselves,
Okay.
but the connections you make with real people?
That's a really insightful way to put it. In the end, it really is all about human connection.
It is, so go out there, build those relationships, and watch your business grow. Until next time, keep crushing it.